Good afternoon, viewers, and welcome to a special episode of Vantage Point. I'm your host, Lisa Hamilton. In light of International Cooperatives Day celebrated today, July 4th, we have with us two special guests who will be speaking with us on this year's theme and how it applies to Guyana. We have with us Head of the Cooperative Department at the Ministry of Social Protection, Perlina Gift, and Manager of the Cooperative Credit Union League, Dana Nesta. Welcome, ladies. So off the bat, the original theme for this year, as determined internationally, is Cooperatives for Climate Action. But in Guyana, we have amended it to include Amidst COVID-19. So it's Cooperatives for Climate Action amidst COVID-19. Why do you believe that this amendment was necessary or important?
Good afternoon, viewers. On this International Cooperatives Day, the theme speaks to us in a very significant way, not only on climate action, but we in Guyana, the agencies that are involved in cooperatives or cooperatism, which is the Department of Cooperatives, the Guyana National Cooperative Union, the Guyana Credit Union League, and the Cooperative College. We thought it best to include amidst COVID-19 because it is something that will definitely impact us. One, because it has impacted from the cradle to the grave. Everything that is being formulated to date, we must consider COVID-19 as something that we will have to deal with in obtaining our objectives and our goals. COVID-19 has also acted on how societies would manage their affairs according to their goals and objectives. This is because the more organized organizations or the larger organizations, they are more technically equipped. But the co-op societies, because of how they are formulated, they have very little resource to manage. This is to say, the COVID-19 has caused social distancing, and because of that, meetings cannot be held, and so discussions are reduced. Persons do not have the technical device, even if they want to have Zoom and WhatsApp. Areas where societies are do not have the technical facilities such as Wi-Fi, and so it will definitely affect them. So, but the impact of it is that despite the COVID-19, they must not be discouraged. So we ask that they show the resilience towards this theme of climate action and also in the light of the COVID-19. We're also seeing that the societies may be discouraged, but the theme speaks directly to us as cooperators that climate action is important to us, of how we operate, of the environment, but we must not be discouraged because of this pandemic.
Okay, as you mentioned, due to the pandemic, a lot of things are different right now. But we know that you're still observing International Cooperative Day. So what are some of the activities that are taking place despite the pandemic?
Because cooperatives play a very important role in lives of people, we cannot just allow this week to pass. National Cooperative Week has been observed in this country over a number of years, more so since Ghana became Cooperative Republic. And I thought it best, or the administration and the agencies thought it best not to allow it to go without recognition. And so we have planned virtual activities. We had banners hoist in Region 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10. We had interviews by societies on NCN. The Kurukuru College had a webinar on their sub-team, Cooperative Education and Life, Livelihood, and Lifelong Learning. We also, today we are wearing t-shirts in observance of the week and the day, because tomorrow because today we are not able to be out in the celebration as we are accustomed to, where we go to a region and we have our program laid out, and we have our speech by our honorable minister and other representatives. So we had to ensure that we still observe the week, observe the day, and to let the cooperators know that we have not forgotten them and we have been recognizing their work.
So, how many cooperative societies are there here in Guyana?
We have a number of cooperative societies. To date, we have sorted and we have 176 active societies, ranging from agriculture, multi-purpose, which means they're involved in more than one activities. We have fishing, we have housing, we have land, we have forestry or logging, which is a part of agriculture, just to name a few.
Now, taking you back to the theme which mentions climate action. We've seen numerous reports as a result of COVID-19, especially in the initial stage of the pandemic, whereby pollution was reduced drastically. There were these pictures that were circulating from CNN and BBC, etc., giving you a global view to show how pollution drastically reduced. But we know many countries now are working to reopen their ports or reopen their borders because they simply cannot survive remaining shut all the time. So, would you say that moving forward, cooperatives in Guyana have a responsibility to the protection and preservation of the environment in light of the theme chosen?
I would say that cooperatives, by and large, in Guyana, we, in the past or present, the cooperatives never impacted negatively on the environment. So we are happy to see positive effects on this environment of the slowing industrial activities and the reduction of modes of transportation that would generally add to the pollution of the earth. But it is our view that lessons can be learned from these situations.
Okay. And have you seen the effects of climate change here in Guyana?
Yes, we have, because the way of flooding and the unseasonable weather pattern, because you'll notice that sometimes the places are extremely hot. So yes, we have been seeing.
So, how would you say that cooperatives can help to impact climate change here in Guyana more directly? What can we do here in Guyana?
The climate change has impacted on cooperatives, especially in the hinterland regions, because of the terranean rains and most of the areas where agriculture is being done, there is always a flood. We're still to hear if any will be this year. But over the past 3 years, we have always been having flood in example region 8 and region 9. But what has happened is that they have been moving away from certain areas in order to still create their livelihood so that the climate action may not affect them. The climate action will not affect them directly, that will constrain their livelihood. On the other side, the climate action will affect the housing societies that are in the lower regions, the low coastal plain. Example, one area, North Haslington. The boundaries have an area for that can accommodate more house lots, but because it is close to the sea, this has to be carefully considered before allocating these lands. So the climate action will definitely affect some aspect of cooperative societies. On the other side of the question, you spoke about reopening borders. It was observed that since the pandemic, one of the hard-hit countries, Italy, they had to close. But then after some time, the effects of the closure drew the attention of the Pope. And the Pope said, and I quote, "People are more important than the environment," end of quote. And this can bring us to realize that the cooperative movement is a part of people first. People are always important in the aspect of cooperatives because it is people first, people for the people, by the people. So the whole aspect of cooperatism, it's democratic, it is self-managed, it is self-promoting, for the people, by the people. And so it is for us to note that the Pope's words were not the first, because if we go back to Sir Jock Campbell of the United Kingdom years ago, he also emphasized that people are more important than shops, ships, and sugar estates. And so this goes to show us how important people are, and the cooperators are the people who are more often vulnerable people. Right? So it is important for us to know that even though with the COVID-19, with the reopening and with the climate actions, where we see things are happening because of people's reaction, people must still be considered as a very important factor of the world today.
Okay, so you expounded very nicely on the first half of the theme. So, how would you say the second half, which speaks to the COVID-19 pandemic, how would you say that has affected cooperatives in Guyana?
The cooperatives in Guyana are affected by the COVID-19 because it has reduced production, it has reduced manufacturing, it has reduced meetings, it has reduced the registering of new societies because meetings must be held. People need to be informed because remember, it's a member society and the members make decisions for their societies. The members' decisions are final. Okay? So the COVID-19 has distanced them to some point. I have experienced that even if I would want to convene a meeting using Zoom, most members are not on Zoom. Most members do not have a mobile phone that can access Wi-Fi. And so there the problem is, how do we meet the members? How do members meet the members? So it has also affected the department from doing inspection. It has affected the societies also by holding one of the most important meetings, the annual general meeting, where the audit report is tabled and accepted, and after the annual general meeting, the expectation of dividends. That's from the profit earned over the year. So it is for us to try to make things work by observing the health instructions, but amidst all of that, to continue the resilience that cooperatives can work.
Would you also agree about the impact of COVID-19 on cooperatives in Guyana?
Yes, because like any other business, we, the credit unions as well as other cooperatives, they had a lot of activities during this pandemic. So we are working towards, helping the credit unions as well as other cooperatives, as CCBO said, to get things in order.
So what are some of the examples or the ways in which or the measures that would have been put in place to cushion the impact on members?
Well, I can speak for the credit unions, what we have been able to do. We safe practices, usage of masks, social distancing, adhering to the protocols established by the COVID-19 task force. And loans in general are given for provident and productive purposes by the credit unions. And the credit unions have been assisting their credit unions by granting them loans. Also, the Credit Union League, in collaboration with the regional body, which is the Caribbean Confederation of Credit Unions, they have ensured that credit union frontline operators are outfitted with recyclable masks in line with protecting the environment.
So you're looking out for them financially and health-wise.
Yes.
So,
the credit unions have also offered moratoriums on loans, where that for this period, persons who would have taken loans can apply for a moratorium, that is a relief from the repayment of the loan, and it will be granted.
so what has been the feedback from persons, being that you're assisting them in this regard?
Persons are being encouraged. It has also shown them a greater appreciation of their membership and return gratification.
Yeah.
This is because the interest on loans have been reduced as the loans are termed COVID loans, because persons will want to shop more than usual. And so they're being offered loans at a reduced interest rate. And so that shows some level of concern for your membership. And on return, self-gratification. By no means this will not affect their dividend from their respective credit unions.
That's all good news, and news that we can appreciate in these difficult times. Now, we know that you mentioned some of the challenges before, but what are some of the other challenges the Ministry of Social Protection's cooperative department has faced, and how is it working to overcome these challenges?
As I said earlier, the registration of new societies or societies who are seeking resuscitation, groups who are seeking resuscitation as a society. We have a system of different steps in registering a society, such as meeting with the societies to ensure that the application that is being submitted is in keeping with the registration process. One such thing is that they must supply photographs for each member of the committee of management, and the photographs must be endorsed, and so the meetings are held to match those photographs with faces. They must have a copy of rules that will govern the society, and so the office is expected to discuss the rules with the committee management to ensure this is exactly what they would want to have in the rules. This is because if they need a change, it is easier before the registration. So they can have the change, and the officer can also meet members if the officer sees it fit that for example, the shares, because in a cooperative society, every member is a shareholder. So the officer may see that the shares per member may be too high, depending on the location of the society. And so the officer can say, okay, I do not only want to meet the members, but I want to meet the members of the steering committee before registration, but I want to meet the other members, the other proposed members, so that we can have an amicable decision on the cost per share. That cannot happen presently because of social distancing. We also, the officers are also restricted to travel for inspection, to inspect if the society is operating, if the society is at its location, to check on the books or the financial records of the society, to ensure that everything is in order, more so in the light of the Anti-Money Laundering and Countering of Financial and Terrorism Act. So
how often do you do these inspections?
The inspections are done every 3 months, or depend as the need arise. Okay? So we are restricted to some point. Everything has to be done on the telephone, and we know that it may not always be true.
Well, Ms. Gift, are there any ongoing training sessions for cooperative societies?
Not presently due to COVID-19, but training has always been a part of the department's agenda with the Ghana Credit Union League and with the Ghana National Union. By extension, the Kuru College is presently being resuscitated to enlarge its training capacity and to be equipped to conduct training at a high level for cooperative societies and for persons who wish to be involved in cooperative studies. So training has always been, and if I can add, the department did AML training in 8 of the 10 regions. Region 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 10. And we have not been to Region 8 or Region 1, but we were planning to go there this year, and COVID-19. So training has always been. We have also engaged in training of committee members of the credit union on risk management and and how to prepare financial statements such as cash flow. And right, so training has always been a part of the department's agenda.
Okay, and Ms. Nestor, what improvements would you say you would have seen within the last year with regards to cooperative societies?
Well, a lot of the co-op societies, other than giving loans to their members and so on, they have been trying their utmost to make sure that all the records are up to date to be audited. And some credit unions, I can speak mostly of credit unions, they have refurbished their surroundings, their buildings, so that it would be more people friendly. So persons, for example, public service credit union, you can easily go in, transport, amalgamated transport credit union. If you're using a wheelchair, it's easier for you to access these credit unions now. So.
And what were some of the challenges that these credit unions faced, and how have they been working to overcome them?
Some of the challenges that the credit unions were facing were having the annual general meeting, as Ms. Gave has been talking about. But what we at the league are looking at is to see how we can help them virtually to have their meetings on a regular basis through either Zoom. We spoke with Kuru only Wednesday, and they have a platform that we are investigating to see how we can also use that platform to help the membership to have a regular meetings.
Okay, so we see technology playing a great role in the COVID-19 pandemic. Even some persons who were not, au fait with it, they didn't know how to use it, are learning. Yeah. So I guess even in all of the negative, there's some positive coming out. Yeah. So to our viewers who are watching, what would you tell them if I were to ask, what are the benefits of forming cooperative societies? They may be wondering if they should get into it. What would you say to them?
The benefits of forming cooperative societies is that it brings people together. It relates to our national motto of one people, one nation, one destiny. It's owned by the people. The people have control. The people who are members, they have control. They are the decision-making body. The Department of Cooperatives and the Guyana Credit Union League, we are the supervisory authority. The Guyana Credit Union League is the secondary body or the secondary society for the credit unions. The department has total supervisory authority in keeping with the legislation, Chapter 8801. The Guyana National Co-op Union, they act as any other union where the problems can be taken there, and the National Union will work towards solving the problems. The National Union will work in collaboration also with the department, where we can discuss matters that of concern to societies. And if there has to be an inquiry, the CCDO or the head of the department will order an inquiry. If there has to be an arbitration, the CCDO will order an arbitration. If there have to be any settlement of dispute, the CCDO is responsible for that, and the result of that is just as that of the court. Okay?
The person Can get answers, they can get justice, all those
Yes,
sorts.
we are always willing to solve problems. We've had numerous problems, and we are able to solve most of them, if not all. And if there's any society out there whose problem have not been solved as yet, it is that it is still investigating. Any member whose problem has not been solved, it is still under investigation.
But you have a good record of solving these problems and the issues,
Yes,
etc.
we solve the problems in keeping with the legislation.
Okay. Currently, Guyana is still maneuvering its election and political situation. Do you believe that cooperatives can offer a positive example to the Guyanese society? Because as you've explained, it's about working together, everybody pooling the resources, etc. Do you see a good example being set by cooperatives for Guyana?
Yes, one of the principles of cooperatives, it's an international principle, is that cooperative societies are non-discriminatory in relation to race, nationality, sex, religion, and politics. And I just want to quote what the operating principles of credit unions and cooperatives in general. It says they are founded in the philosophy of cooperation and essential values of equality, equity, and mutual self-help, recognizing the varied practices in the implementation of credit union and cooperative philosophy around the world. At the heart of these principles is the concept of human development and the brotherhood of man expressed through people working together to achieve a better life for themselves and their communities. So, co-op societies don't really get involved in politics because we look after everyone in the community.
And just like how you look after everyone, I guess persons should look at that, no discrimination, etc., to pattern their lives of how they should live together in unity as a nation. Would you say? Go
Yes,
ahead.
because the whole unity comes in how everything can be solved under one umbrella.
Yeah.
It can be solved right in the department because of, as I said, the CCDO decision is like that of a civil court. So you don't have to go out. So there are persons who have been going to the court, and we've had cases where the case was referred to the CCDO for the decision because of the legislation. So there should be no animosity among people. It's all about togetherness. And the cooperative societies can also help to encourage Guyanese to support Guyana and ensure the sovereignty of Guyana is maintained. And that's one of the things we Guyanese have in the positive. As the Venezuelans came into Guyana, there was an organization who approached us for the inclusion of these migrants to co-op societies. We took it to voluntary ask the societies to make the decision. We don't have any control on the decision making of a society unless there is a matter of concern that it was brought to the department. So the societies had their choice to say, okay, we will accept them or we will not accept them. Right? So it is to encourage all Guyanese for the sovereignty of Guyana is maintained, even in the time of need by others and assisting others. The cooperative should also be resilient on its principle and extend its focus on the border controversy with our neighbor Venezuela. Despite the help to the Venezuelans, but we should be focused on the controversy that is presently at the International Court.
As you said, protecting sovereignty.
Right. Then continue to focus on good governance, as Ms. Nesta alluded to just now. They're away from politics, right? So, good governance on behalf of your society, because cooperatives should be a part of their income or their production or their whatever they're involved in, the whole aspect of how they operate and they supported to our country should be a part of our gross domestic product. So we need to understand that we need to be focused, emphasize good governance and integrity in the conduct of the affairs, more so since Guyana will be under assessment on the anti-money laundering law. It may not, it was scheduled for 222, then it was moved to 223, but whether it goes beyond 223 because of COVID-19, we will still be assessed. And by no means we will want to do things that will affect us or that will cause us to be blacklisted. So we need to ensure that despite what is happening, we remain focused and resilient towards our objectives and our goals.
Okay, and as we wrap up, if I might ask a final question, Ms. Nesta, on behalf of credit unions, would you like to give a message to all out there, general message in light of the celebration of International Cooperatives Day, and the same thing for Ms. Gift, for all cooperatives? Any message or anything that you want to let them know at this time as we observe this day?
Yes, on behalf of the Credit Union League, University of Guyana just celebrated their 40th anniversary, and the Credit Union League would like to congratulate them. Also, we would like them to take time off to read the minister's message today that will be published in the Guyana Chronicle, as well as to look at Vantage Point.
Okay.
On behalf of the Ministry of Social Protection and the Department of Cooperatives, I want to wish every cooperative society a happy International Cooperative Day, and international means that we are all part of it. And I want to thank those who have been enlightened by way that they are coming forward to have, for example, their financial records audited. We're seeing them being transparent. They're eager to have their annual general meetings, and the department can always invite and get a fair response. I also want to thank my staff. By extension, now we have regional offices in Region 2, in Region 1, both at Mabaruma and Moruco, in Region 2, in Region 3, in Region 4, Region 5, Region 6, Region 8, 9, and 9. So we had an office in Region 10, but the office has since resigned, but we will refill those vacancies as soon as possible. So I want to thank my staff for their hard work. I want to thank the agencies involved, that is the Guyana Credit Union League, the National Union, and the Kurukuru College, that will help us to reform, resuscitate, and to make the cooperative movement that it can be recognized once again. I also want to thank the Ministry of Social Protection for allowing groups to be registered as co-op societies under the Sustainable Livelihood Entrepreneurial Development Program, commonly known as SLED, and they have been issuing grants over the past 3 years to groups under the group formation of a co-op society. And we have seen these groups be a part of sustainable livelihood, and they were in areas of fish processing, they were in areas of social events, erecting building for social events, providing transportation, sheep rearing, chicken rearing, among others. So the groups have benefited in all regions. And so I want to thank the Ministry of Social Protection, SLED Department, for enabling us in the cooperative department and by extension the sector to show that it can work. It has worked before and it can work now. Take into consideration the work that has been done over the past years, and not only Guyana, in other countries, because incidentally this year the International Labour Organization is celebrating 100 years of their involvement in cooperatives. And so they have been very interested in how cooperatives operate and how they are resilient in not only the other countries, but also in Guyana.
To our viewers, we here at the Guyana Chronicle would also like to wish you a happy observance of International Cooperatives Day. We would have heard from the two lovely ladies about the theme and how it impacts Guyana with regards to climate change and COVID-19. We would have also heard of some of their challenges and how they're working to overcome it, some of their plans moving forward, and we would have heard of the importance of cooperative societies and their benefits. So I want to thank you for tuning in today, and do have a blessed rest of the afternoon.